Welcome to another episode of the Talk Show where I'm Jason Takhtadjian. We are going to be talking about some fun topics, and we got ourselves a very special guest with us. We got Davit Vardanyan. David, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good.
Now,
Happy to be on the show.
Thank you so much for being on the show with me. I know that this is something that we've been planning for some weeks now, and just because of our busy schedules, we haven't been able to really solidify and get a spot together, but I'm glad that we were able to do that here today because I do have quite a few questions and want the audience to learn about you and learn about what you've been doing, your past history as far as how you got into combat sports, specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and kind of where you want to take that sport, especially here in the Valley. So I guess, first of all, man, good morning. I'm glad you're here. And, for the folks at home who maybe don't know a little bit about you, could you tell us about kind of your background as far as, where you're from, how you got into sports, and kind of how you drifted into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Got it. So, family was born in Armenia, and then I was born here. My uncle started fighting, then my brother started wrestling. And then I started wrestling, wanted to get into the whole fighting. But then I ended up doing grappling. Started doing jiu-jitsu around 2010. I just fell in love with it. So I decided after high school I was going to go to college and go wrestle, but I ended up going to the family business instead. Okay. And I decided that I'll just do jiu-jitsu for the fun of it. But I was always waking up 5 a.m., getting my workouts in, going to work, then doing my jiu-jitsu. But our company is a 24-hour company. Mm-hmm. So it's a trucking company. So if there's if there's semi-trucks flipping over on the freeway and whatnot, we would go recover a scene.
Okay, so that's the family business that you got into after high school or college?
Well, I was doing it in high school as well.
Oh, okay. You were doing it in
whenever
high
I was in high school,
Gotcha.
I was still doing it. But,
I don't want to cut you off, but that doesn't sound like an easy job. Just going and recovering trucks and, we're just going to go flip a truck over after, like you said, a windstorm or whatever that may be.
Yeah, definitely. So that's, honestly, that's what gave me a better mentality, my uncle and I were really, really close. So when I was a little kid, we would go do a big accident. We would come, train at 2 a.m. in the morning, take a nap, and then go back to work. Oh, so wow. we're on call 24/7.
So you would train in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, what was that like? Was that something that you had the work that you had to go do, right? But you guys didn't matter what time of day, you guys were looking forward to training?
Yeah. So it was basically me, my brother, and my uncle. And we have our whole workers or our whole team. Mm-hmm. But we would basically go sleep at my uncle's house, me and my brother. And we would have mats in the room, in the garage. And we would go train and wake up at 3 a.m., go on a call, come back, sleep, and then middle of the day come back. It was a very but for us it was normal.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we would go to practice. If we missed practice, we'd come get a lift in. So it was just work, train, work, train, work, train. Yeah.
So how long did that go for?
That went on for, I would say, from my freshman year of high school all the way to sometimes to now. Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get a call.
Yeah. So, but we always make sure it's a religion to us that we have to get our training in.
Yeah.
No matter what.
It's a discipline, right? You have to make sure that you do it because if you don't, you're already falling behind, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so take us through that as far as you're starting to get into combat sports. You're starting to train. You said that you were influenced from your family, your uncle's side, right?
Yeah.
When did you start realizing that this wasn't just a sport that you were doing to stay in shape per se? This was something that you wanted to take a little bit more serious.
Yeah, I mean, my uncle was always tough on us, and then it ended up being that I kind of became good at it. For some reason.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you want to move to Texas? It's the best. I actually moved to Puerto Rico because that's where the best grapplers are at. And yeah, it was like a joke, and then we found out that they're all in Texas. So we go to Texas just for a seminar, and after that, I met Craig Jones. Yeah.
So that's when you first met Craig Jones.
I met Craig Jones at a bar. Yeah. We just walked in. We were walking down the strip, and we saw Craig Jones at a bar, and then met him. And then I ended up getting his number, and I ended up moving to B Team.
Right, in Austin, right?
In Austin. That's wherever like the best grappling was. It's the hub of like the best grappling right now.
So remind me, like, at what age did you move to Austin? Because all your life you were living in Fresno in the Central Valley, and then this is the first time you're getting out of there, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of a like a weird thing because Armenians don't usually move away from each other. So my parents thought I was crazy moving away from this grappling sport. So then B Team opened up, and B Team was basically. They had like 300 members on the team, so I just came in like another ordinary guy. And then Craig found like favor in me, started liking me. I started training with them like early in the morning, and on the weekends we were training alone for like 7 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like, but I didn't even know who he was. I didn't even know how famous he was, whatnot. He just like started liking me a lot, and then we just started training, and then within the first 3 weeks of me moving there, I ended up beating this guy who had a really good name, Luke Griffith. So he took second at ADCC. It's it's like the best. It's like the Olympics of grappling. So he ended up. Prior to him taking second, I just go into this random competition. It was the first time that these two big teams have met. And B Team just opened up, so it was the first time like B Team went to like a competition.
Yeah.
And I ended up going in there and beating this guy.
Oh wow.
Not knowing who he was, whatnot. And then after that, like everything went well for me.
Wow.
But then I moved back for that family business to help out again.
So how long did you stay in Austin then?
For about 7 months.
So it was a 7-month total. You were there. You learning, helping, all at the same time, right? Like you're honing in your skills, still, figuring everything out as far as your life, and also, trying to grow as a professional, and then you come back to Fresno, right?
Yep.
Got you. So then how long does that period of time last?
So and then I come to Fresno, but I don't have any training partners. So for me to go and get ready for a big competition is difficult.
Right.
So I thought about the long run. So the long run was like stay in really good shape, get strong, get fast, work on the athletic side, and become well-knowledged. So study heavily. So I was spending like 3-4 hours a day studying, and I got all the tools because I trained with the best guys in the world, understood, and I was driving twice a month to LA to get training in.
Okay.
On the weekend. Edwin Najman's gym.
Okay.
It's another Armenian, good grappler, well-named. And that's where I met Arman Starukian's main training partner.
Oh, nice.
Elvis, yeah. Then I started training with him pretty often. I was going down. And I didn't know who he was until later on. And we were going to get food. We became really good friends. Yeah. And there was times like whenever Arman comes, we'll get some training in. But Arman and I had never crossed paths.
Okay.
It was always like, I would like, work would come in the way and I would like miss the opportunity, And I started like training with all the Armenians in LA, like all the Olympians, became friends with all the Armenians out there.
That's really interesting. It's like one thing leading to another. You just, you're motivated by just, wanting to do good work and trying to, advance your career. And like in the most humble way possible. You don't know these guys when you're interacting with them initially, and I think it kind of goes to your favor, right? Like it's more of like a human interaction. They're like, we can trust this guy.
I mean, I'm a big believer of like good intentions. Take you like good intentions will your plans will get established. Like having a good heart and wanting to help and not take. Like you doing this talk show for the Armenians. It's a big deal. This helps out all of us, and we're such a, small community, but we're so strong. We're so loud. You know what I mean?
Hey, I appreciate that, and ultimately, I just want to do good work. Like, I'm just motivated by, trying to do as good of a job as I can, and everything else will just follow. That's just kind of my mentality. And I feel like we have a bit of a similarity in there, too. Like,
Yeah.
We're motivated on our careers and just doing good work. Everything else will fall through.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's very cool, man. Because I know your journey doesn't just stay here in the United States, because I definitely want to dive into some of the other training partners and kind of how you went from Fresno, California, all the way to Australia.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, Craig and I became more than just a coach and student. We became like brothers. Like our loyalty for each other, our friendship grew. And then Craig went to Australia for Volk's camp. And Islam's like a wrestler, grappler, like a heavy wrestler, grappler. Yeah. We're about the same height. And he's like, hey, can you come out for a training camp and be a partner for Volk? And I was like, yeah, this sounds like a great, time.
That does.
Yeah. So I went out there for about 3 weeks, went trained with the boys, got to meet a lot of really good people. And Volk went out and basically, in my opinion, won that fight. It's a very controversial, conversation, and he did good. He didn't get submitted where everyone thought he was going to get submitted. He was a smaller guy. And Volk's a legend, so I was blessed with that opportunity. So, and I came back, then went back to Australia, then went to train with Craig's coach, who's also like a really big name. I went and trained out there for about another 3 weeks. Then I came back, and then a few years later, then I got invited to the JDM camp for this Islam fight.
Right.
And
there's kind of like the connection there too, right? Like you're essentially the guy that people are training with for Islam. Which in and of itself, I think that's like a huge honor, because Islam Makhachev is, when it's all said and done, he's going to go down as one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, and, he's Islam's he's a monster, So just being the guy that's been called out for those camps it's been a very interesting, thing for me, because, end of the day, I was just a fat, chubby kid before I started training, Didn't think I had much to offer in this world. And, God blessed me with so many opportunities all at once, continuously, I wanted to, do fighting and whatnot, but I think I'm more valued in the grappling world, that this is what I specialize in, and this is how I can help out, our Armenian community. Because there's no other Armenians that are really grappling heavy. Not much Armenians that are taking the grappling aspect as seriously.
Right.
And that is a big deal. The grappling, as you see in the UFC, is, one of the most important things you need to learn. It's the hardest martial art to learn. It's considered the most difficult one to learn.
Right.
Because there's so much tactics and so much in it.
And it just so happens that, a lot of those guys from the Caucasus region, not just specifically Dagestan, but all of Caucasus region, they specialize in the sort of grappling and wrestling side of things. And then you have guys from, maybe from Brazil or from Australia that need to hone in on those skills before they go and fight somebody like that. So that's where you come in.
Yeah.
And that's what I've noticed too, is the kind of styles are different. And that's when you need those sort of sparring partners. And that's where you come in to help guys like Volk and help guys like JDM to, try to match up with these guys.
Yeah. The thing is, it's the Caucasus Mountain, it's they're so tough. They have really good wrestling, and they learn a certain a wrestle grapple style. Where Australia and Jiu-Jitsu is evolving, right? It's Jiu-Jitsu guys were not always tough. They're just learning how to be tough.
Right.
So wrestlers need to learn really good jiu-jitsu, and that hybrid version is what's going to be the next evolution for UFC fighters.
Right.
So now if the Australians learn really good wrestling with their good grappling, that's when they're going to become really dangerous.
I see.
You have to learn really good wrestling. But we have such good wrestling, we're so tough that they learn a little bit of grappling and they're already at the highest level of fighting.
I see, because they already have like that background basis that they're just building on top of.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I had my buddy, who you know, Gokor Ambarian, on the last episode of the talk show, and I did ask him that question directly. Like, do you think those sort of styles clash when you're talking about fighters from Australia versus fighters from Dagestan? He said 100%. And I think that's why it's important whenever, fighters from, those different, like, styles, whenever they're training, like, they specify on those certain things, whether it's, like, defending the takedown or, whenever you're on the ground, how do you get back on your feet or try to sprawl back up?
Yeah.
Because it's very important, because a guy like Islam's keeping you down on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine someone like Islam, as good as Islam, knows really good jiu-jitsu. That's like as good of a wrestler, but has really good jiu-jitsu, And that's why I think Arman is such an interesting character, because he has been doing like grappling competitions and really getting heavy in grappling, and that's why I think his style has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. He's a really good wrestler, but at the same time he's becoming like a full, like he's developing like a grappler's mentality as well.
Yeah.
Not
I was gonna ask you about that too, like just like what you've seen from Arman's game recently. I know he had a fight at Qatar, and I know you wanted to kind of talk to me about that too. But just like, what are you seeing from Arman recently?
Yeah, so Arman Tsarukyan started doing grappling matches prior to these few fights. Like between, he was still staying active, competing, grappling. Mm-hmm. So, and he's been training with grapplers, like peer grapplers. When you train with peer grapplers, you get like a whole nother flow of like wrestling. It's like a nonstop, it's like a nonstop like scramble, and it's like consistent like submission. And I think that's where Arman started to like really, catch my eyes, is that him leaning towards that way is what's going to make him the most dangerous, Because some people get into like they get into like fighting, and they learn how to just do a bit of jiu-jitsu that complement their wrestling. But whenever you dive in as a complete grappler, your style changes a lot more.
Okay.
When you like only grapple and focus on grappling, then when you come back into MMA and you learn to take those tools and to implement it into like fighting, it gives you a whole nother style. And this is like what I was talking about, why UFC is going to change a lot more. It's not going to be as boring, because these scrambles are going to be insane scrambles nonstop into submissions, where instead wrestlers would like try to take people down, hold them, and just stall out, which is boring.
Right.
But in the next 5 years from now, when all these wrestlers go heavy into grappling, they're going to be it's not going to be as boring.
I see. So you're not going to see a lot of that, like, just ground fighting where they're just, like, laying on each other. And, like, they're just, like, not allowing the opponent to get up. And everyone in the crowd is just trying to get them to get on their feet. Yeah. So this is going to essentially have more, action, right? You're saying that this sort of training, this sort of style would translate.
And it's evolving like crazy.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great, transition to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as far as what the UFC is doing, because they've already hosted, I think, like 3 or 4 different events.
Yeah.
With Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
UFC BJJ.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that to you, because I know we got an Armenian that's actually fighting, Keith Krikorian.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you if you know about him, and just like kind of your thoughts on the UFC kind of diving into BJJ.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's an amazing thing. Grappling has went through the roof. Mm-hmm. Keith Krikorian, friend of mine, we chopped it up a few times together, but I'm excited to 2026. I'm going to pull back a little bit from work and get back into my competition stage and really get back into where I left off.
Yeah.
So the UFC BJJ, CJI, they're all new. Have you heard of CJI?
I'm not sure what CJI stands for.
So CJI is my coach is Craig Jones. He hosted that competition.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the highest paid tournament ever in the world. Oh. It was like a $2 million prize competition.
Wow.
And that's the reason why grappling evolved crazy within the next 2 years.
Because everyone's, going
Everyone
into that
saw-
invitational.
Yeah, they went to that invitational. The invitational displayed like how crazy grappling is, and like how action based it is. It's not boring like they used to be back in the day where they just sit, hold each other.
Right.
But now it's like action, action, action. Like something's breaking. These guys are being durable. They're getting choked out. They're getting out of these positions. It's like nonstop action.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that even to me sounds like more fun sometimes than when UFC fighters are even on their feet and they're trying to go boxing style.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they just become so reserved that they either don't land a solid punch or they're just going for jabs and waiting for, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go for the takedown.
Yeah. So imagine that. Like crazy striking into a takedown, into a scramble, into a submission, into getting up, into striking. That's what like Arman Tsarukyan displays. That's what Ilya displays. Like that's where this evolution of fighters are going towards.
Yeah. And I think it's a win-win for the UFC, and I hope that they continue to uplift those fighters. I recently we got the news that Arman Tsarukyan was going to be part of UFC 324. A lot of people were hoping that he was going to be part of that interim title fight. Now we're kind of in limbo as far as when we're going to see him fight. But I do think that if it was Arman versus Paddy or Arman versus Gaethje, I think we know who was coming out as a victor. Just based off of what we've seen from Arman against Dan Hooker. I know he hasn't fought in the UFC in a year and a half, but like you said, he was still taking. It was I think 2 grappling matches in Moscow to keep himself in tune, right? And he looked great. He won both of those matches.
Yeah. Arman, I love Arman a lot. Like Arman went through a lot. Like Islam and Arman fought. Islam had a very easy way to the top. They gave him the fights he wanted, all this stuff. Arman, they delayed fights, and they gave him the fight and delayed fights, and like definitely continuously screwed with his momentum. Like it's not a very, I don't think they respect him enough, and I think they hold back his potential. And that's why I like Arman. He's so strong-willed that he just doesn't care. He's like, give me whatever. And just because of one hiccup that he didn't fight and he backed out of the competition for whatever reason it was, whether it was his back or what the problem was, you're fighting at the highest level. That's what people forget. And like Armenians will criticize that part of his life, and like people will keep saying like he pulled out, he doesn't deserve it, this and that. But it's like you're fighting the best guy in the world. You're fighting pound for pound the best guy in the world. Yeah. Why would you take this opportunity and screw it up? He has a good thing going for him. And they've already messed with a lot of things of his life. And one hiccup in his career, now he's getting bashed by like Dana and like everyone, which is not cool. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. I think everyone should move past that. And he won his fight in like an insane way. No one does that to Dan Hooker. I've been in a room with Dan Hooker too. I've seen him before. Really cool guy. I like him a lot. Fan of his.
Yeah. But again, it goes back to what you were saying, right? There are levels to this, and Arman's on a completely different level, and the way that he's being treated doesn't necessarily add up to his skill set or his level of output. And I can understand some people saying that, the marketability side in the U.S., there's other fighters that maybe want to see other fighters other than Arman Tsarukyan. I say that I think Arman's stock is only growing. And I think now we're seeing his star power grow outside of the Armenian community. And I know he doesn't have the most American name and the most easy name to pronounce, but neither does Merab Dvalishvili. You know, but at the end of the day, everybody knows who Merab is. And, I think end of the day comes back to the performance from these fighters. And if somebody who isn't into combat sports, this is like one of the biggest tests that I love to install, is someone who doesn't like to watch sports. give them a combat sports or give them a fight to watch, they're going to most likely point out who they think is going to win because, oh, man, that guy's better than the other guy. And it really captivates people. And I think that's what combat sports is all about, is captivating people, seeing one guy versus the other. And right now, Arman's on a different level. And I want to see him continue to beat guys, but not just like anybody, like a Gamro. I think that I don't want to see him fight Gamro, even though there's like some beef in the history with them.
Yeah. I mean, he's become a fan's favorite. You know, everyone wants to see Arman fight now. You know, and you know, God willing, that we just continue making noise as a crowd, and we have to support Arman.
Yeah.
And he's putting in the work, so I think it's our responsibility as Armenians and any other cultures that are tapping in. We're thankful for them as well, and we need to keep pushing. You know, the UFC, like, you guys are not making the right decision, and it's obvious. Like, everyone's talking about what a stupid decision it is. You know, brother just smoked Dan Hooker. He's a #1 contender. You know, whatever happened in the past with that Islam fight, it's in the past. Brother is moving forward like crazy. So
yeah, that's true, man. Before we get going, though, today, I want to like reel it back and talk a little bit more about you before we get going, and that is about some of the things that you got planned for next year. I know that you got some things in the works that are more than a few months out from now, but kind of just tell me what it is that you have planned for 2026, especially in the world of combat sports.
Okay, so I want to bring the highest level of grappling to Fresno, and in May, whenever we're in the talks with Table Mountain, so we're going to get a date solidified, and we're going to host a competition. It's going to be a grappling and a wrestling competition. So we're going to blend the two together, and it's going to be like a -80 and a +80. It's like that competition I was talking about, CJI. And we're going to host like a $10,000 prize for the top bracket, and the bottom bracket. It's going to be really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. And the rule set I came up with is like super action based. It's like 3 minutes, 3 rounds, and between those rounds, we're going to dry the guys down. This rule set hasn't been showcased before.
Right. I'm sure this is open to everybody, but like you said, like, how cool would this be to also have this as an opportunity to showcase the talent that's here in the Valley?
Yeah. So that's what I'm aiming towards, because we have the best wrestling in the nation. We have, like, honestly the best wrestling in the nation. I'm bringing Armenian kids from LA to come compete against our kids from the Valley. So we're making like 4-man brackets for these kids. And we're putting like $1,000 prize for them. Wow. And it's going to basically give the kids an opportunity to be on like a really big show. Yeah. And it's the #1 D1 recruits of the nation.
It's going to be a great opportunity.
Yeah, so it's going to be a really good opportunity. And this is more about like unity too. Yeah. Like to get our community involved, to get, the kids involved and the Armenians involved. And I want to meet more Armenians and like help everyone, have connections, everyone meet, like all my years of traveling, all the money I spent going here and there to become as good as I'm trying to be. It's like more than me. It's like past me. So I'm really excited to like get this competition going. Yeah. At the same time, like, I'm trying to show what grappling is. It's a lot more than just like for combat. It's for everyone. Right. There's like 70-year-old men that are doing it, 80-year-old men. There's people that are like 400 pounds that are doing jiu-jitsu. There are women that are doing jiu-jitsu. And like women, let's say in the police academy, in the medical field, grappling helps out a lot. It teaches you how to handle a body. Like if someone is like passing away and a girl's like 100 pounds, they know how to control that dead weight. Right. To like in like emergency. So I'm connecting right now with like the medical field, the police academy, and just people from like all atmospheres. Yeah, I'm talking to them, letting them know what this competition's all about.
That's so cool. That is so cool. I wish you nothing but the best, and I think 2026 is going to be a big year for combat sports and for you specifically, between the competition you have, between you getting back into competition shape. I'm excited to see what you got going, and unfortunately, we're out of time now, but I wish I had another half hour, another hour.
For sure.
This is the theme. Every single time I have a really good guest with here, I want to talk for another hour. So who knows? We'll see if the show develops in the near future, and then I'll have you on once again.
Yeah, and we'll talk a lot more.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you, and we'll see you soon, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.